Fickle has become the watchword for the wins off Nice, and race day 3 of the Louis Vuitton Trophy proved no exception. For the first race between Italy's Azzurra and BMW Oracle Racing, the breeze was light and shifty, a difficult task for the tacticians, spotting wind shifts on the water, tricky work. A split-tack start saw the Americans heading determinedly for the left-hand side of the course. Azzurra went to the right to create the biggest separation of the regatta so far. Both teams were gambling on finding a fortunate shift, the wind gods favouring the Italians, who lifted into fresher breeze and steamed across the Americans' bow when the teams converged. An upset was on the cards, the highly accomplished America's Cup squad from the US looking down the barrel of a defeat at the hands of a brand new Italian outfit flying the famous flag of Azzurra. On the first run, Gavin Brady drove BMW Oracle Racing to the right, hoping to get a lift back into the race. Instead, Francesco Bruni found stronger wind for Azzurra out left and then stretched his lead. The bizarre breeze saw the Italians beating to the finish instead of reaching, but no matter how the race finished, their delight in the win was obvious. The margin huge, a massive 2 minutes 56 seconds to Azzurra. In race 2, a David and Goliath match between former America's Cup holders Emirates Team New Zealand and Synergy Russian sailing team, taking part in their first regatta in America's Cup class yachts. The start looked all good for Team New Zealand, especially when the Russians were over the line early and had to go back to cross again. But any smiles on Kiwi faces were soon wiped out as those fickle winds played into the Russians' hands, drag racing the Kiwis up the first leg and passing them to lead into the first turning mark. The New Zealanders found themselves in the unusual position of playing catch-up, 200 metres behind the Russians and staring down the barrel of a shock defeat. It was the Kiwis' turn to go into attack mode. With half the race behind them, they set about trying to claw back the Russians as they headed upwind for the final time, the lead swapping between the teams as they battled for a much-needed win. The Russians held fast, only to be undone with the finish line in sight. Sensing a famous victory and just metres from the finish, the wind failed them, a collapsed Jenica leaving them dead in the water. The Kiwis took their chance, eking out every ounce of energy from a zephyr of breeze to pass the Russians and steal victory from the jaws of defeat, robbing Karol Jablonski's new Russian team of a race win they'd never forget.